gon' watch a movie. Lights, camera, explosion. Get ready for the real. Now I'm playing podcast in motion. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of Now Playing Intermission. I'm Arnie, and joining me tonight are Stuart
and Justin. My first intermission.
Yeah, your first time just kicking back and bullshitting with us, Justin. We appreciate it.
And being recorded. I mean, not your first time bullshitting with us, but definitely. We don't usually air this side of ourselves, and maybe that's a wise thing. We'll find out, but we're decided that this is what we're doing these days.
Thank you to everybody who downloaded and listened to our first intermission and gave us some positive feedback on that. I was really appreciated. It is something different for us, and anytime you try something new could always fall on your face, right? But I think people enjoyed the show, so I'm glad to hear it. So let's talk about good stuff. Stuart, what have you been watching, reading, doing, anything?
I keep finding myself in Chicago, and this time I did not go to the movies. I had a friend, it was her birthday, and we went to do some immersive theater, which is, if folks have listened to the April Fool's Day show, something I love to do. I love when the line between audience and performer blurs, and you can have some fun there. This one is called Theater of the Mind, and it is done by David Byrne of the Talking Heads. I feel like David Byrne is like the one MTV star that kids didn't like, right? He was too scary for me. I never understood him when I was a wee lad, but I've grown to like him. And he wanted to, I think, shake up the whole autobiographical music biopic thing. It's his life story, and so you're invited to walk through his mind, quite literally. They've turned an office building into his mind, and you're seeing parts of his life, but because he finds memory subjective and unreliable, you're always not sure what you're seeing, feeling, smelling. They really mess with you in terms of sensory. It's an interesting show. It was transposed from New York. It'll be in Chicago, I think, until the summer. Worth checking out if you're around. I appreciated the fact that it is not like Bohemian Rhapsody or The Doors or one of those usual musical biopics. Usually they hit the familiar beats and you go, okay, yeah, you're a god and then you're trash and then you have your comeback. And this was a different way of understanding a musical rock star.
Oh, is it a discography of Burns, or is it more like original music for the show? Or what are we talking about?
Well, he's not a talking head. He's a floating voice. And then you have other people that are putting on his suit, that white suit from the video, Burning Down the House.
Yeah, with the big shoulders.
And so they clearly don't look like him. And that's the whole point, because you're seeing David Byrne as you've never seen him before. He's talking a lot more about his family than he is his musical career. But there are moments from both.
One thing you said that intrigued me, you said it messes with your senses, and you mentioned smell, and there's very rare circumstances where I find noticing a smell to be pleasurable. Were they stinking up the theater? What were they doing?
It's not a theater. You're walking through a whole building. And so there are different parts.
Okay.
You're just engaging. At one point, you're in a club, and they give you something that's supposed to be like ecstasy, and they give you food, and it doesn't taste like the food should. And I don't want to spoil all the surprises, because that's always a terrible thing when someone comes out of immersive theater and says, well, they do this and this to you. But they just, again, it's true. Our mind, our memories, all of it is subjective. The things that we think we know, science will tell us. They did go to neuroscientists to help write this show. And so a lot of this is brainy, geeky, dorky science stuff that they're putting in here. But yes, the way we remember the past is filled with flaws, and Byrne ends up leaning into that. It's really a show about coming to terms with your past.
Wow.
Well, in the wise words of Bill Pullman in Lost Highway, I prefer to remember things the way I remember them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The subjective way is always better than what the photographs tell us, right?
See, when you said immersive theater, I've never done one of those before. I just thought it was like still theater where you're sitting in a chair watching something, not like a haunted house type thing where you're walking from room to room.
Yeah, it is a hybrid. A lot of them end up being Halloween events, and they're kind of haunted houses. But again, they blur that line between just being a spectator and having an experience.
David S. Pumpkin style.
I would say this is not the best or the worst version of that I've seen. It was pretty good. It was interesting. It was very David Byrne.
Justin, what about you? When you're up to?
Man, I'm boring compared to that. I'm not traveling up to Chicago for interactive theater shit, man.
Well, do you stay at home watching Mary Kate Olsen videos or something?
Might as well be, right?
Yeah.
God. No, this is the time of year where my favorite sport is getting into high gear. I'm a big NHL fan, and we're in the last couple weeks of the regular season.
That's hockey, right?
Yep. Yes.
Just double checking. Yeah.
That's the H and the L. But yeah, I mean, your team is vying for playoff positioning and stuff like that. And when the playoffs start here in a couple weeks, your team, if they make it, they play every other night. They play best of 7 series. So you get to know the other team are playing really well. I'll probably go out to Denver to see a couple games if I can sneak out here when we get that far. But I know not everybody, I know you guys aren't sports fans. I know a lot of our listeners probably aren't sports fans. But this time of year, if I'm not watching stuff for now playing, most of my free time is watching hockey games. As a matter of fact, I'm missing one right now as we speak. So, my level of dedication is here, but it's really exciting. To me, hockey is one of the sports, if you're not a sports person, is a good bridge. If you ever had thoughts of maybe trying a sport, hockey is exciting from puck drop to the end of the game.
If you were sports curious, this is the place to dip your toe in.
Here's what I would say about that, because all sports are the same to me. I don't like them. I don't get into them. But if I actually go as a live event, I have a good time. I have been to ball games that I've really enjoyed. I've never actually seen a hockey game, now that I think about it, but I've seen various sports live. I would never watch them televised, but live, being there in the crowd, a lot of fun.
I knew this about you, Justin. I honestly didn't know you would have called it your favorite sport because you had some viral fame with your football helmets and things. And so I always thought football was your number one.
It depends on the time of year. If it's fall, football is my favorite sport.
Yeah, when we were talking about recording one time, it's like, well, that's the day of the Super Bowl. Stuart and I had no clue. We're like, that's the Super Bowl. But all the times we'd record Marvelicious Toys and I'm working on tech shit, Marjorie and Justin are talking about NHL games because Marjorie's also really into it.
Yeah.
She was on a state champ team for hockey, the women's Illinois state champs in the year 2000.
Nice. Very nice. But hockey's serious business. I mean, I don't know if you guys paid attention to the Olympics at all, but the U.S. men's team did win against Canada. And to be honest with you, that's the majority of the NHL right there is USA and Canada. There's a lot of Slovakian and Eastern European players too, but a good majority of them either land on those two teams. The women's U.S. team won too, which to me was more exciting. The women's team were way more gracious and I think deserving of a gold medal. So kudos to them. Good job.
Yeah, I saw the SNL episode where they brought out 2 of the male hockey players and then 2 of the female hockey players. And I bet they're great at sports because they cannot read a cue card.
At least you hope they are.
So I had one thing I have been experiencing lately. I ran across a documentary on the Criterion channel called Video Heaven, all one word. It was narrated by Maya Hawke. And it showed under the cast list Quentin Tarantino as himself and Maya Hawke narrating. And it was a 3-hour-long documentary about the video store. And so I'm like, let me give this a try. It's an awful documentary. It is a solid not recommend for the documentary because all it is 3 hours of clips from movies and TV shows that take place in video stores with Maya Hawke flatly delivering lines reminiscing of a time she was not alive during and how the movies reflected American feelings towards the video store. And the movie opens with Ethan Hawke in his Hamlet 2000, taking place in modern day, trying to be the Romeo plus Juliet of Hamlet.
Oh, yeah.
Ethan Hawke walking through a video store and in his mind giving the soliloquy, to be or not to be, while looking at various videos.
So what was the thesis? I'm hearing it was pretentious, but what did we lose when we lost the video store?
The thing is, it didn't really go into it. It didn't talk about the business of video stores. It really was an awful documentary just because it didn't provide any insight. It didn't show me how streaming killed the video store. It didn't show me any impact the video store had on the movie business. It never once mentioned direct-to-streaming. It strangely called out Toxic Avenger 3 as the most insightful movie about video stores because it had that evil corporation going into the video store and saying, we only want corporate movies here and not trauma. And that was foretelling the overtaking of the video market by conglomerates instead of indies.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks that it sounds like they fumbled the thesis on that because, I mean, I do feel like there is room to be nostalgic about the loss of the video store, at least the era, like going in, not knowing exactly what you wanted to see and maybe just kind of browsing around and making a choice based on a cover, right? Like you can kind of do that on streaming services, but I feel like that's just doom scrolling after a while.
That was what I walked away with. Wasn't that I got anything other than a clip reel from this Video Heaven movie, but it took me back to my times in the video store and how I saw movies that we reference on this show a lot that I never would have seen without a video store. Because right now, you can say, oh, but digital has a better selection, as in a broader selection. But what's bubbling to the top? If I go to Netflix, they're going to show me Netflix created, Netflix promoted content. They're going to show me the newest Stranger Things series or whatever movie they're doing. I remember Don't Look Up was inescapable for a while. And if I go to Apple, I'm going to see all of the Apple produced stuff. I go into my Apple TV, F1 is everywhere. And so their own profit determines what you see. Whereas a video store, yeah, the new release section might have a whole wall of Pocahontas because that was a big movie. But when you get out of the new release section, everything has an equal chance of getting your attention. Every piece of cover art. And it's not determined by an algorithm. It's determined by an alphabet or a genre. And I saw so many movies I would never have seen otherwise just by saying, I feel like laughing tonight. What is this Hollywood shuffle? This guy on the cover looks like Eddie Murphy. It's not Eddie Murphy, but it looks like Eddie Murphy, and I like Eddie Murphy, so I'm taking this movie home.
You probably also watched a lot of shit, too. Let's face it. You picked up a lot of things thinking, this looks like the Terminator, and it ain't the fucking Terminator.
But that's what I kind of lament is the loss of that because it was kind of like a shared experience. Sure, there was a lot of shit out there, but all of us kind of saw it, right? Because we all had HBO or Showtime, and they were running the same 30 movies over and over again.
Think about, like, I was thinking about the 90s with my friends or early 2000s dating Marjorie. Part of the hangout ritual was going to the video store. Right now, if Marjorie and I are sitting around and it's a Saturday night and we don't feel like going out, it's like, what do you want to watch? I don't know. What do you want to watch? And then we scroll and scroll and scroll. At the video store, it's what do you want to watch? I don't know. What do you want to watch? I don't know. Let's go our separate ways, pick up some stuff, come back together, and then have a negotiation. Oh, you want to see that? I was sort of interested in that. Let's see that. It was more independent and yet then became communal. I would never have seen Femalian if my friend Andy hadn't pulled it from a shelf and gone, I want to watch naked women tonight.
You probably would have seen it. I'm thinking that's not true.
He would have saw it in the theater somehow, right? So what you're saying is Netflix and chill was originally Blockbuster and Bang.
Yeah. And I would have paid late fees for that. I just felt like the internet was so great when it came out because it meant we don't need music labels anymore. If you're a musician, you can just put your music out there and have a chance. And if you're a filmmaker, you could just put your film out there and have a chance. And YouTube has done that, but the signal to noise ratio is so great that you still need the marketing dollars to get attention for quality things. And what's getting the marketing dollars is drowning out the smaller product. And so we're going to be reviewing I Spit on Your Grave, and I never would have seen I Spit on Your Grave nowadays. I saw it because I was in a video store and that box cover was interesting and the title was dangerous.
Well, once you go down that road, it becomes even more depressing because I read articles where I'm hearing younger generations don't even want to watch movies. They just want to watch personalities
Clips.
or something like that. Clips, exactly.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is who we are, right? Our age. It defined us. I definitely feel like the video store defined the way that I consumed media. And yeah, I miss it. I definitely miss it.
That was mine too. I had a good 24 hours of nostalgia of the video store era and just being sad that, yeah. You know what I walked away from, though, was actually a good feeling, is that because Now Playing, yes, we review The Mandalorian and Grogu and Spider-Man 4 coming out, brand new day, and all this big stuff, but then we also do Alligator 2 and the Lake Placid sequels. And so I feel like, in a way, we are the modern version of that clerk behind the counter recommending movies to people.
Don't put words in my mouth. Recommend.
Or warning people, don't rent that shit.
We're not pulling those things out because we like them. We're pulling them out because they say Lake Placid on them.
Sir, Lake Placid 7 is not a family movie. Put that down
Yeah.
and go get
Yeah.
Pocahontas.
Where I'll go with you is like Miracle Mile, right? That one's definitely a video box discovery.
I'm just saying that we have listeners who watch stuff along with us as we review it. They watch 2 movies a week because we review 2 movies a week. And I feel like by being able to get into some of those nooks and crannies, sometimes they're not great nooks and crannies, and sometimes they are. I didn't like The Curse when I rented it with Will Wheaton. That was a really bad movie, and The Curse 2 was worse. But I rented it, and so I feel like we are, for our listeners, a digital video store where we're not algorithm driven. We're all over the map and able to let people discover or rediscover, Miracle Mile or Trick or Treat or Trick or Treat, either one of those.
Yeah.
I would have never seen Terror Train or some of my favorites that I discovered only because of this show, It Follows or the remake of Maniac. There are some real gems. Get Out, I would have never seen, that I have become to love because of Now Playing. And so I'm hoping in some small way, we're not carrying the torch for the video store, but maybe we're carrying a match or a propane lighter.
Yeah. I think you're saying what I'm saying I lament the loss of, right? Is some sense of communal shared experience, right? And if it's even a smaller scale or whatever, like getting through an Uwe Boll movie is easier knowing I'm not the only person on the planet watching this right now. There's at least a handful of us that are suffering through this shit together.
Yeah. After the movie itself, there's another experience to be had. And it's ripping the shit out of Uwe Boll.
He's coming back for us, man. He's coming back.
I've heard. The House of the Dead sequel that he didn't make, now he finally gets his shot.
He's gotten older. Maybe he's gotten weaker, and I can take him in the boxing ring now because he's going to come for us.
I thought you meant maybe he got good. Like he got better. I have very little chance of that happening.
He'll thumb wrestle anybody who doesn't like his movies now.
I shouldn't feel good about beating up an old man, but if it was Uwe Boll, I might.
Yeah.
He's beaten up on me enough. All right, well, now we are going to go to the portion of our show where we bring in one of our patrons for some trivia questions. So joining us this time is Adam.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you listening to the show, and you're a patron too, right?
Yeah, I've been a patron since you guys started it on Podbean.
Oh, wow.
And I've been listening since you guys released Halloween 6. That was a fun review.
Wow.
You are really stuck with us. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate just the longtime listenership and everything. And it is a reminder that this episode is free for all Now Playing listeners, but our patrons do get the opportunity to come on here and join us for some trivia questions. And after Stuart guilted me last time, there is a prize involved. If you get these 3 questions right, we're going to send you a t-shirt. Not a huge prize, but a t-shirt.
Don't put that on me. That's a normal thing. You have questions, you get a prize. I didn't make that up.
But Adam, we are covering Lake Placid on Fridays and Star Wars on Tuesdays. So we're going to stick with those as our questions. The first one, Adam, is Lake Placid related?
Okay.
Lake Placid, the first one,
Mhm.
is stacked with character actors and well-known 90s movie stars. Which of the following actors is not in Lake Placid? Is it A, Bill Pullman, B, Oliver Platt, C, Betty White, or D, Bruce Campbell?
D, Campbell.
You're right, yes.
Ooh, nice.
I just finished you guys' Obi-Wan Kenobi review, so I just heard you guys give the cast list like 2 hours ago.
Saved by the promo. I take it you haven't seen it yet.
I watched it years ago because it was Betty White, and I love Betty White.
Yeah, that's all I remembered too.
She's the best part of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's more Betty White than Gator. So
Oh, good.
And I thought Bruce Campbell was a good diversion. I mean, he was in Congo and
Oh, yeah.
doing just whatever he could in the 90s. So it feels like he could be in a Lake Placid film.
He would make a killer crocodile film, no problem with that. Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me if he was in one of the sequels.
They can't afford him, and that's really saying something about those sequels.
Really?
Oh dear. Oh dear. Anyway, I guess I got the next question. It's Star Wars related. Actually, it's Andy Serkis related. Andy Serkis, an actor famous for bringing to life creatures, Gollum, Lord of the Rings, Caesar, Planet of the Apes. He is in Andor, the Star Wars prequel series. He is out of the mocap dots, and he is playing a prisoner jailed with Cassian Andor. His name is Kino Loy. But this is not the first time that he has been in this franchise. What was the first time that Serkis was in Star Wars? What was the name of his character? A, Supreme Leader Snoke, B, Claw, C, Jar Jar Binks, or D, Unker Plutt?
A.
Yes, Snoke. Who could forget Snoke? Did you know it was Snoke?
No, I just, after Jar Jar, I
Process
was...
of elimination. Yeah. Who's Unker Plutt, by the way? I don't even know what that is.
Unkar Plutt was Rey's boss who would only give her a quarter portion in The Force Awakens, and underneath all of that rubber is Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg played Unkar Plutt.
Oh, of course.
He had a name?
Weirdly enough, well, he also had an action figure, so that's probably why. That's why I know his name. Okay, we have another Star Wars question. I don't know how well versed you are in Star Wars, but we're sticking with Andor. So I don't know if you've watched Andor to keep up with us yet. We're coming up with that soon. But the Andor series was created by Tony Gilroy, an Academy Award nominated director and writer. Which film did Gilroy get an Oscar nomination for? Your choices are A, Rogue One, B, Michael Clayton, C, Duplicity, or D, Dolores Claiborne.
I want to say Dolores Claiborne.
Oh, very close. 2 out of 3. It was Michael Clayton.
Okay.
He did write that, right? He just didn't get nominated for it.
He worked on all of those films, Duplicity not being the Michael Keaton cloning film.
That's Multiplicity.
Yeah, that's Multiplicity. This is Duplicity. But no, Tony Gilroy worked on all of those films. I felt like Dolores Claiborne was the one that could hang out there. Like, you'd think maybe that Stephen King project got an Oscar.
Mhm.
I mean, it did have Kathy Bates. She won an Oscar for Misery, but no, it was Michael Clayton that got nominated for writing
Yeah.
and directing,
Mm-hmm.
lost both.
Ooh.
But I'm going to give you a chance for a second prize.
Oh.
You can answer this one, and it's hard. I'm going to just say it's hard. But if you win it, you get a hat. You get a now playing hat.
Okay.
What movie beat Michael Clayton at the 80th Academy Awards for Best Picture? And I'll give you a hint. The film that won also won Best Adapted Screenplay, not Best Original Screenplay. Michael Clayton was nominated for Original Screenplay, but what movie that year won Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Picture?
What year was the 80th?
It's the 2007 Academy Awards that took place in 2008.
I have a guess.
Oh, gosh. I don't know.
Stuart, what is your guess?
I'm going to guess it's Slumdog Millionaire.
Nope, that was a different year. I don't know what year Slumdog Millionaire was.
It was a year
It
off
was
then.
2009.
The 2008 Academy Awards covering the movies of 2007.
Come on, friendo.
I got nothing.
The answer is No Country for Old Men. That won Best Picture over Michael Clayton. And I don't think anyone really thought Michael Clayton had a shot that year.
Although it was great. Memory serves, it was a really good movie.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying No Country was like the golden boy that year.
Yeah.
And just unfairly, the thing that beat Michael Clayton for original screenplay was Diablo Cody's Juno.
Oh, ew.
They're giving us stink eye right now.
So, Adam, you got 2 out of 3 right for ours, so that's pretty good. Do you have a question for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, so mine is Star Wars related, and I unfortunately don't know a lot of Star Wars, so I actually got this one from my dad.
Okay.
He was the huge...
I'm going to cede the floor to the other two.
What planet were the Death Star plans stored on? Was it A, Dantooine, B, Endor, C, Scarif, or D, Geonosis?
We have to let Stuart try.
All right, so say the question again, because Endor was some moon that was involved with a version of the Death Star. I think you could blow it up from there. But plans?
What planet were the Death Star plans stored on?
Storing the plans there? That is not my memory about what they were doing at that point. I don't know. I really don't know.
List the planets again, and I will go through them and tell Stuart what they are.
Dantooine,
That's really a planet?
Dantooine is a planet where Leia in A New Hope says the rebel base is.
But it's been evacuated for quite some time.
Yes, that's what Tarkin finds out. To save Alderaan, Leia gives up Dantooine as the location of the rebel base. Tarkin blows up Alderaan anyway, only to find out Leia lied. There had been a base on Dantooine, but it was abandoned.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Endor,
That's the Ewok thing. Yeah.
Yep, Forest Moon had the shield generator.
It was a shield. No plans.
You couldn't attack the Death Star until you took down the shields.
Yep.
Give Han something to do.
Scarif,
Scarif is what I'm going with the answer. That's the planet where they built shit, but did they store the plans there? Yeah, I guess they did. That's the planet they had to get the plans from. So yeah, Scarif is the answer.
Yeah, it was like the Imperial base from Rogue One where they had to go get everything.
That's right. That was the whole thing, is they had to go to Scarif and take down the shields and sacrifice themselves to beam the plans to a CGI nightmarish version of Carrie Fisher. I rewatched Rogue One this week.
the other one was Geonosis.
Geonosis, what a great planet, where the big arena battle was at episode 2. Well, Adam, thank you for coming by here and joining us for the trivia. I really appreciate it so much, and it was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
2 out of 3. And behind the scenes, Stuart and Brock both gave me some crap and told me to lighten up on the questions a little bit, make them less hard. So I think I did, but I think they were the right hard.
Yeah, some of them. That bonus one.
The bonus one was bonus for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking Juno. Also, something we're going to be watching, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Got to see that trailer in IMAX before Project Hail Mary. Strong recommend. Everybody go see that.
They did.
Good. It was a fun movie. It's so good, Marjorie wants to go back and see it again this weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't bring it up because I feel like we're fated to cover it at some point.
Yeah.
I'm keeping mum.
Well, what I wanted to talk about briefly was Spider-Man Brand New Day. You guys see the trailer?
Yeah.
I saw the trailer because you said, let's talk about the trailer on Intermission, but I didn't see it at a movie theater. I had to just, about 10 minutes ago, look it up on YouTube.
They didn't show it at Project Hail Mary? That was like the big movie they were tying it to.
You know what? I tend to time it so that I get in at the end. AMC runs 24 minutes of previews, and I try to get there at the 21 minute mark.
Yeah. No, I mean, I saw the trailer and then I saw your surprise breakdown video of it. That was pretty sweet. Hopping back into the fan chair.
It has been a long time since a movie hyped me, and I wasn't looking forward to Spider-Man Brand New Day. And then I saw that trailer and I'm like, well, damn, this looks really good. So yes, if you want to know about Brand New Day, the comic, and this trailer, I frame by framed it, gave my theories, gave comic backgrounds, all in a video on our YouTube channel. It is more detail about Brand New Day, the comics, that I'll have time to go into during our actual Brand New Day movie review. So if you want to check out my theories on what Brand New Day is teasing, that is up now.
I had 2 thoughts. One, this feels like the first time where the villain isn't the focus of the ad campaign. I have no idea who that is with the ninjas and all that. It's obviously focusing more on the relationships, right? The Zendaya romance that he had to leave behind. Punisher's in there as well. I don't think he'll be playing a villainous role. But also, I would say that it made me want to see Spider-Verse, the one that I really am excited for. When will we ever get that third concluding chapter of the animated film?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
No kidding. It does feel like that has been forever. And I am wondering, like, could Spider-Verse show up? You know, we had live action people show up in Spider-Verse 2. The voice actor who did Tombstone in Spider-Verse is also doing Tombstone. He wasn't even in the trailer, but he's been announced as being in Brand New Day as Tombstone. I'm like, is he going to be a cartoon Tombstone that crossed over from the Spider-Verse? How are we going to have him do both? And
yeah, to Stuart's point, the marketing not making a big deal about a villain, I think, is probably the right call, coming off the last Spider-Man, where it was all about, they were trying to hide the fact that the previous 2 Spider-Men were in there, and every villain that they've ever fought in those movies is coming back. So I don't know how you top that.
Mm-hmm.
So you try not to, right? You just kind of come in and make this focused on Spider-Man and what he is now, that he's pretty much an adult, right? Spider-Man has been a teenager up until this point.
yeah. But I am really looking forward to that. It has probably jumped up to number 1 on the movies I'm most hyped for this year.
Wow. Is Marjorie pushing any panic buttons? Like Star Wars Action News and Marvelicious listeners will remember that Spider-Man back in the day, the Sam Raimi ones, kind of were the thing that kind of kickstarted Arnie's obsession with collecting.
No, I'm not feeling an impulse for any toys. I am happy on the sidelines of Star Wars collecting and Marvel collecting. I still watch it. I'm like a former pro football player who now watches the game from home and lets others play.
Mm-hmm. Good. I had to ask because I just knew that was the impetus that kind of started us all down this path, honestly.
Yeah.
And speaking of teasers, Stuart and I got together last week and hammered our heads together. Neither of us walked away concussed, but we did walk away with a summer-fall donation drive.
Yeah. There's always things in play. I'm always looking at what we haven't covered, what's been requested. There were lots of options. But the ones that I think we landed on, well, it'd be a nice counterpoint. I feel like right now we're really living B movies, animal attack movies. We almost are moving into, I would say, kind of more prestige pictures with at least one of the series that we're doing. There should be some quality stuff coming your way.
Like I said, our own little video store. We're going to have all flavors of film in there.
Yeah, it's not all Lake Placid 7.
Are we breaking news here or are we just teasing?
We're just teasing.
Yeah. We're just letting people
all right.
know that there's life after Lake Placid 7.
Thank God.
But this Friday, we're living La Vida Lake Placid 2. So,
Yeah, and that is quite a life to live.
and then this Tuesday, we are going to be booting up a video game review, Super Mario Galaxy. It's going to be better for me than the last one because my dog died while I was watching Super Mario.
Oh, wow.
Last time.
Wow.
I was in the theater watching Mario, get a call from Marjorie, you have to leave immediately. I go out into the parking lot, weep while we put my dog down. I was in Springfield, she was in Texas. My mother had just died while I was watching John Wick 4.
Yeah.
And my dog died during Super Mario Brothers. I am going to revisit that first Mario Brothers before this review because I don't know that there's a movie that could have come out that weekend I could have recommended that I'm watching while my dog is dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I have there are certain films I've watched that I associate with horrific memories, and it's hard to separate.
Well, the question is like now with clarity, are you going to all of a sudden flip and super recommend Super Mario Brothers?
That's possible. I mean, maybe I'll like Jack Black singing Peaches more than I liked him singing Lava Chicken.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to find out.
Yeah, we are. It is what it is. I know that everyone else is looking forward to it, so I guess I'll try to put on a brave face.
And finally, I'm going to ask listeners, what should my sign-off line here be? I'm like, okay, we're wrapping it up, and I'm going to thank everybody for listening, which I do, and I am appreciative. I'm going to ask for feedback because this is still only our second show, so I'm doing that. I'm going to remind people, hey, if you haven't, you could leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Stitcher because that helps new people find our show. Thank Justin and Stuart for joining me. And then I need something here, guys. I'm gonna
be like a bartender. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
I'm thinking for this week, what I'm gonna say is, since we talked about video stores, make it a now playing podcast night.
And a rewind.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated. Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2026, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Trash film, we say it. High art, we praise it. Red arrow, green arrow, that's how we grade it. Woo. Time to get it poppin', now playing podcast. Yeah.